Hello there. Today we're going to talk about nested brackets. What are they? How do we use them? How do they work? So we're going to go all into this, and we're even going to do an example with not just one, but two nested brackets. Let's get started. So first things first, what is a nested bracket? What does that even mean? So let me get my, not my highlighter. Let's go with the laser pointer. Good. A bracket is called nested if it lies entirely within another bracket. Okay? And the same rules apply, basically, that we've been working with brackets this whole time. The inner bracket has to be evaluated before the outer bracket. Right? Now, I want to make an important distinction here, but before I do that, I want to grab my pen. I'm just going to do that real quick here. Okay. So here's the important distinction. Recall we talked about another common kind of bracket, right? It was called the parenthesis. Now, parentheses are actually not true brackets and do not qualify under this definition as nested brackets. Let me show you what I mean. So here I have a sort of a sample problem that we can work through. So I'll read it out to you. It's bracket 5 times -2 plus bracket 3 plus 5. And in this situation, what we're really working through is how do we come up with, is it a bracket, is it not, so on and so forth. So obviously we can all agree that this bracket from this yellow one from here all the way to here is our outer bracket. That's obviously a bracket we have. They're very far apart, as we talked about last week. There's a whole series of operations going on. We have a multiplication and addition. So that's definitely an outer bracket. Now this bracket right here, where my laser pointer is, this green bracket here with 3 plus 5 in it, that is what we would refer to as a nested bracket. Why? It is within the outer bracket, right? The entire green domain is within the yellow domain. So that is what I mean when I say this is happening. Okay? And now the distinction that we talked about here comes up right here. So we have this -2, but this is not a bracket. Why is that? Because there's no operation within it, right? All that's telling us is that we are multiplying by a number that just so happens to be negative. We're not subtracting, we're not adding, we are multiplying, that is correct, but the multiplication is outside the bracket, right? So that doesn't count either. So in that case, that's not a nested bracket, it's just a regular old parenthesis, okay? Now, let's do a quick 5-minute exercise. That already went off by itself, so let's stop that there. What I'd like you to do is very simple. In these questions on the right-hand side, I would like you to please identify all the nested brackets. First of all, are there any brackets? Second of all, label them. And third of all, I've added one more thing I'd like you to do here. If you think the brackets have a nested configuration, I would like you to label the inside bracket as B1 and the outside bracket as B2. Okay? And don't worry if you don't know how to do that just yet. Afterwards, we will take this up. Okay? Go for it. Good luck. All right. So that is just about time. I know we're a little bit off there, but that's okay. Let us continue going right through this. So let's take this up now. I'm going to show you exactly how to do these problems on the shared screen that you can see right in front of you. So let's go ahead and do this together. Okay. So the first question here, we have a series of things going on. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. First of all, on the outside, I do see a bracket, right? There's no doubt that that's a bracket. Obviously, we have a whole bunch of operations in there. We have a bunch of additions specifically, right? So that is definitely a bracket. And because it is an outside bracket, we are going to label this as B1, right? Now, it's okay if you just put B1 in front of the bracket like that, but really what you should be doing is you have to go around. You've got to actually circle the entire bracket like this, and then put an arrow and write B1. This is the same way you would normally label brackets. We're just doing this. 1 second, let me just fix the camera here. We're just doing it for now nested brackets. And then the second bracket, what I like to do in a nested bracket situation is kind of just make a little bit of a caveat there, and then label this guy here as B2. Right? There we go. Now the second situation is a little bit interesting. If we go back to our highlighter, we do still have this outside bracket right here. But in fact, we talked about this situation earlier, right? The -2. That is a situation where we're dealing with parentheses. And when we're dealing with parentheses, we do not have nested brackets. So no nested brackets. Why is that? Because this right here is a parenthesis, right? And it's not a regular sort of a nested bracket. Okay? Let's now tackle this third situation here. So once again, we do have some sort of situation going on. So let's take a deeper look. This outside big bracket here is our external bracket. So that is going to be given the name, hold up. So the nomenclature here is wrong. This should be called B1, and this should be called B2. Okay? And so this outside bracket is going to be called B2, and we have this little inside bracket thing going on here that is called B1. All right. So that is the idea. And that's how we're gonna deal with this situation here. And we absolutely do have nested brackets in this case. I do want to point out the appearance of this -2 here, which is simply a parenthesis. Okay? All right. Let us move forward. Okay, so before we get to the sample question, I'm just going to quickly check if my program is still recording. I sure do hope it is. We'll keep... Alright, we are still recording. We're good to go. Alright, guys, let's now go through the sample question. Now, this sample question, I really like it because it's pretty easy, but it also has 2 nested brackets within it, which is great, which is exactly what we want, right? First of all, we want to start the slideshow from the current slide. That is correct. Now, here is the procedure anytime you have a nested bracket situation. I'm going to use the highlighter just to point out the main things here. Number 1, you want to start by identifying all the brackets and their subsequent nested brackets, right? We always start by identifying brackets. That hasn't changed, but now we're going to do that, and we're going to identify all the nested brackets too. Let's actually do that right now. So here is our first bracket that I see, right? This actually is a dead giveaway because anytime that we use nested brackets, normally we start them with the square bracket you see over here, right? So if you see the square bracket here, right, this usually indicates nested, right? So that's something to keep in mind. But of course, we do have a nested bracket situation. In that case, we're going to go ahead and use this color here, and I'm just going to re-highlight the part that is actually nested within. Okay, so that is our nested bracket, 2 divided by -3 times -6, and the external part is going to be the rest of the bracket, right? Now, how do we label these and number these? We've talked about this before as well. We're going to call the inside bracket B1 and the outside bracket here as B2. Okay? Now, the important thing is once we're done with this, we always want to label all of our brackets regardless of whether or not they are nested from left to right. Okay, we've said that there, and we've said that there as well. Right? So the next bracket that we have is this one here, right? 6 times 3 minus 10. The reason why I put it in blue there is because it's neither an outer bracket nor an inner bracket. It's just a bracket, right? So there you go. And if you'd like, you can also label this as B3. All right, perfect. Again, we have a very similar situation to B1 and B2. So I'm going to go ahead and label this. That is a pen. We don't need that. We need a highlighter. And I'm just going to check my color here. We need the yellow one. There it is. And again, we have an inner bracket in this situation. Right there. Okay. And a similar numbering style. So we're going to call this inner bracket here. Oops. We're going to go with the pen. As B4. And the outer bracket here as B5. That's it. No other brackets. Any other time you do see a bracket in this question, it's really just a parenthesis, right? So that's a good thing to keep in mind. Okay, so we've done this part. Second step, we've also done this part. We've done the identifying and the labeling. Now we want to evaluate B1 and B2. And this part is the new part for today. So the new part for today is to always label B1 within B2. So let me show you how that works in a second. Let me get my black pen, and let's go ahead and evaluate all of these. Okay? So, B1, as you know, we're going to write this with no parentheses, and if there are two interlocking signs, we're going to write them one on top of the other. So I have here B1 equals 2 divided by, let's actually do this at the top, because I want to fit in all of my brackets here. Two divided by -3 times -6. The 6 looks like it's flying. Bring that back down to earth. Okay, as you can see, I've written this one sign on top of the other, and I have no more parentheses anymore. Now, of course, we circle, as we always do within brackets. So I'm going to go ahead and circle. All of this technically belongs in one nice big circle. The reason for this is because, again, we don't have any plus or minus, right? Anytime we have a negative in this question, basically all that's really telling us is, hey, I am multiplying or dividing by a negative number. That's it. So let's keep going here. Basically, you have to evaluate all this in one fell swoop. And so 2 times 6 is 12. 12 divided by 3 is equal to 4. And we know we're going to have a positive sign because we have two negative signs. One here, one here. Okay? Let's keep going. So now I have B2. For B2, I have 9. Oh, equal sign. We have 9 plus something. Now, in this case, the something is none other than our old friend B1, right? So what we do is we just write the answer. In this case, we got 4. And then you go out there and you label this immediately as B1, right? So again, we are labeling B1 within B2. Okay? And then you finish it off with -1. Obviously, circling this is, again, relatively straightforward. Grab our red here. Everything has its own little circle because all we're doing here is plus and minus. 9 plus 4 is 13. 13 minus 1 is equal to 12. All right, let's keep going. I promise we're almost done. For B3, B3 is actually one of the easier ones. B3 is you just write it as you see it. 6 times 3 minus 10. Go ahead and circle now. Let me give myself this before switching my pen here to circle mode. Oh, that didn't work. 6 times 3, as we know, is 18, and 18 minus 10 is equal to 8. Okay, so B1 we've got, B2 we've got, B3 we've got. Let's go ahead and evaluate B4 and B5 as well. B4 is equal to 3 minus 4 times 6. Again, we can take the opportunity here to go ahead and circle. 3 is by itself, minus 4 times 6 is by themselves. And that will be 3 minus 24, which is equal to 21. That is going to be a negative 21 because we have more negatives than positives. Okay? B5 is our final bracket. Okay, so B5 is going to, let's just write it as we see it for now. We have 6 minus, and then of course we have our answer from B4, which is negative 21, right? And then we're going to label this as B4. And we keep going. Divide by negative 7. Again, we circle. So once we circle, we know we're only dealing with multiplication or division. So we circle here, right? The rest of this really just belongs in one big circle, right? And we have 6, and then all this gives us a positive, so we pretty much have 6 plus 3. I don't have any more space, so I'm just going to put this here, equals to 9. Okay? One thing you can do is for those weird circles that you don't know how to evaluate, you can actually pop them right into a calculator. So I've done that here. Basically, we have 4 negatives, so we have basically 21 divided by 7, which is 3, add 6, and then the 4 negatives, that gets us exactly where we want to be, at 9. Okay? Alright. So that gives us all of our answers, and again, I want to emphasize this weird kind of thing that we did, the thing that's new this week, which is that we label brackets within other brackets, we label brackets within other brackets in order to make this flow efficiently. Okay? I'm just going to copy, so now I have all my B values, and now it's time to actually go for the solving of the real question with the Q step. So I've just, this is the same question, I just brought it back from the previous slide, and what will help me is to also re-identify all my brackets, label them, and put the results that I had on the previous page. You don't have to do this. I have to go to the next slide, so all the information's kind of whack, and I want to put it all on one page again. So again, let's get rid of this. Let's go for our old colors. We've got the yellow, and the yellow. We've got the green and the green. And we've got the blue. Okay. Sorry, my tablet was a bit dirty there, guys. So let's keep going. Now we actually have the results for all of this. So let's go ahead and write that somewhere here. So we know that B1, whoops, that is a highlighter. That is not what we want. We want the pen. B1 is equal to, let's use the red pen. B2 is 12, B3 is 8, B4 is negative 21, and B5 is 9. So I have all my results. I'm ready to go. Let me just label my brackets for me now. So we have B1, B2, B3, and B5. Nothing new here, just amalgamating all the information from the previous page. Now we want to go ahead and write our beautiful Q step. Let's go ahead and do that. So, Q equals 2, and then now we're just going to continue the same way we've done this the whole time. So first of all, we have 3 times, now we have the result of all this coming in, right? But all this is not B1. It's pretty much all B2 at this point. So we write 3, we know our B2 answer was 12, so we write 3 times 12, and we label this as B2. Notice how I'm not labeling B1. B1 is irrelevant now because B1 is already within B2, right? Plus 3 times 11 divided by negative 4 times 7 divided by negative 3 times. Now we get to the B3. B3, we know the answer is 8, so I'm going to put an 8 here. And to preserve this notation, I'm just going to jump to the second line here. So now we have minus negative 7 times, now we have all this here representing B5. I know my answer for B5 is 9, and we don't have to worry about B1 or B4 anymore. So B5 is 9, so 7 times 9, just as easy as that, divided by all the way here to negative 21, plus 11 divided by negative 5 times 11 divided by negative 5 times 25 divided by negative 11. Okay, so just filling in the rest of the question now. Right? Now we circle, and circling will make this process a whole lot easier, trust me. So we've got 3 times 2 right here. We've got a plus sign, so we circle around that sign. And to be honest, we don't have any plus or minuses for the rest of the entire circle. So we go ahead and make it all one big unit. From the left, we have negative 7 that qualifies, and we go all the way here until we see the next plus sign, and then all the way to the end of the question. There are really no more plus signs, so we can just circle all of that nice and comfortably. And now let's evaluate our circles. 3 times 12, easy, that's 36. The next circle requires a bit of critical thinking. Firstly, we can find out if it's positive or negative pretty easily because we have 2 negative signs, so that's definitely going to be positive. Now you can ignore all the other signs and just multiply or divide as needed. So again, you ignore everything else and you multiply or you divide just as you need. So 3 divided by 3, it's not going to do anything. That's okay, that goes away. And then we have, let's see here, we have 8 divided by 4, which gives us 2. So basically it's going to be 77 times 2, which is 154. Then the next circle we have, again, we can decide if it's positive or negative. In this case, we get negative because we have 1, 2, 3 negative signs. 7 times 9 is 64. 64 divided by 21 is equal to 3. You can also say that 7 divided by 21 gives you 1/3, and then 1/3 times 9 also gives you 3, same thing, so minus 3. And then the whole last circle, divide, again, we can tell our sign is going to be negative, 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 right? And what we have here is, well, basically divide by 5, they kind of cancel out, but times 25, and we have a times 11 and a divide by 11, so all this basically cancels out, and we only have an 11 left over, and we can just pump this into your calculator, or you can just do this mentally. This gives you a final answer of 176, okay? And that is the correct answer. There is one small change that I forgot to make during this step. Basically, it's much better if we just exclude all of these parentheses within the Q step. So I'm just going to get rid of them quickly using my pen here. That is what your work should look like without any parenthesis whatsoever. Right? That's much, much cleaner now. Okay? So that is the one modification I'd like you to make. Just remember to remove the parenthesis. Okay? And the next slide doesn't exist. That's it. We're all done. All right. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you in the next video. Okay? Goodbye.